All right. Hey, everyone. My name's Dan, and this is Matt, and we're both Googlers who work on a product called Dialogflow. So I wanted to say first, thank you so much for coming. We've been having an amazing I.O., and we're super excited to share our talk with you. You've probably heard a lot over the last few days about how important the Google Assistant is to our vision for how computers can help people get things done. The Assistant works across dozens of device types and makes the most of the best features of each device. That could mean the quick at-a-glance display of a smartwatch, and it could mean the benefits of no screen at all. The Assistant's now available on over 500 million devices, so that makes this a really important platform to build for. So the Assistant is really smart, and we've made it do some super cool stuff, but the real power of platforms comes from their developers. So how do we empower our developers to extend the Assistant and do things we never could have imagined? This is where Dialogflow comes in. We've taken what we learned from building amazing conversational experiences, and we've built a tool that allows any developer to do the same thing. This session, we're going to tell you all about Dialogflow. We're going to tell you what it does, where it fits, and we're going to show you how to build a sophisticated action for the Google Assistant in just a few minutes. We're also going to talk about a few upgrades we've made based on feedback we've had from our awesome community. So, as you saw in our developer keynote, we've had really great momentum in growth this year. We've had 500,000 developers use Dialogflow, which is a 250% increase since this time last year. And Google's developers are obviously really excited to use our ML tech in their work. We've also got brands all around the world using Dialogflow, and they're building some really amazing stuff. So if you want to see some case studies, you can check our website to see some of our partners' experiences using the product. All right, let's get technical. So before we go further, let's go over some basics. An action is a third-party experience for the Assistant, and there are many ways a user can invoke your action. First, they can just ask the Assistant for your action by name. Or maybe the Assistant might suggest your action based on its functionality. Once invoked, your action is going to the Assistant is going to hand conversation control over to Dialogflow. Dialogflow understands conversational language, and it will hold a conversation with your users based on a structure that you define. You can then connect this conversation with your business logic to make things happen and generate replies. To define this conversation, you'll use Dialogflow's UI, and it's a web app that even non-developers can use. There's no coding required for simple apps, and it takes literally minutes to prototype a conversation. Under the hood, this all uses Google's machine learning and natural language understanding tools, but you won't need a PhD to make use of them. For more complex actions, connecting actions with your code is super easy. And you can even use our embedded cloud functions for Firebase Editor. You just tell Dialogflow at which points the conversation it should communicate with your code. Dialogflow then makes an HTTP request with JSON describing what the user wants. And you can use this to construct a complex response or to look something up and generally make stuff happen. So we want to show you how easy it is to get started with Dialogflow. And over the next few minutes, we're going to build an action from scratch for an imaginary local business. Our business is going to be a bike repair shop. Our action is going to work like a helpful store clerk, and it's going to allow our bike repair shop's customers to check the shop's opening hours and book an appointment to service their bike. So here's what's going to happen during the demo. First, we're going to walk you through how to respond to user queries with a powerful concept called the intent. We're then going to show you how to extract detailed information from users' queries, like times and dates. And we're going to demonstrate how to connect your action to business logic that will store appointments in a Google Calendar. Finally, we're going to integrate our action with the Google Assistant and test it out. So to get started, I'm going to hand over to Matt, and he's going to demonstrate how the finished action is going to work on his shiny new Pixelbook.
Thanks, Dan. Can we go ahead and switch to the demo? Oh, there we go. So before we get started building, I'm just going to give you guys a quick demo of what we're going to build. So right now on the left side of the screen, we have the Google Assistant up on the Pixelbook, and we'll say, talk to my bike shop to invocate our action. So right now, the Google Assistant is handing off the conversation from the user from the Google Assistant to our action, the bike shop. So right now, we're going to set up an appointment, and it's going to ask us what day we want to come in. So we're going to say next Friday. And then it asks us what time, and we'll say 3 p.m. And right now, the cloud function is actually adding an event to our calendar, you can see there, and asking us what kind of appointment. So I'm going to say tune-up. And there we can see our action has confirmed the appointment and has ended the conversation. So now let's build it. So we're going to switch to this Dialogflow here and log in. So this is Dialogflow's console. On the left, you'll see a panel where you have all the main concepts that you need to use to build a Dialogflow agent. And in the middle, we have the panel where you do use all these main concepts. Right now, it's a list of intents. And on the right, we have a simulator where you can try out your Dialogflow agent as you're building it. So let's go ahead and try it out. We'll say hello. So we can see that the default welcome intent here was matched. And if we open up the default welcome intent, you can see that we had the response hi. So that's not quite what we want to say since we have a bike shop. So let's change that response up and say, welcome to my bike shop. How can I help? So we'll try it again. And, we needed to add. So now we're adding a training phrase here so that our hi query is understood. And the agent is training and using this hi example as a training phrase for a machine learning model that's running in the background that will identify incoming requests to this welcome intent. So we'll try hi again. And now we can see that our response is correctly identified, and we send back the correct response. So let's create our own intent now. So we'll go to the navigation panel on the left where it says intents and click this little plus sign to create our own intent. And we'll type in hours. So this will be our intent that we're going to create for any intention that the user has to know the hours that our bike store is open. So for the first thing we need to do is add training phrases. So these training phrases are used as the basis for the machine learning model. So we need to think of things users might say when they want to know the hours of our bike shop. So we'll do a few examples here. How late can I come in? They might say, what are your hours directly? Or they might say, when do you open? So I'll go ahead and save that, and then Dialogflow will start this training process using these training phrases. And while that's happening, we're going to add a response. So down here, we click Add Response, and then we'll say we're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every weekday. We'll click Save, and we'll try querying this out. All right, are you open now? So now we can see the hours intent was matched down here and sent back the correct response. We're open from 9 to 5 every day. And now I just want to take a moment and notice that the query, are you open now, isn't really similar to any of the training phrases we have. When do you open? What are your hours? How late can I come in? So this is the kind of the power of Dialogflow and really shows off how powerful it is. If you can imagine trying to write a regular expression to match every instance of these 4 examples, as well as the thousands of other ways that someone could ask, when is your store open? This is where Dialogflow just becomes really powerful and allows your users to talk to you in a natural conversational way. So now let's take a closer look at the response. It's a little bit generic. So we're open from 9 to 5 every weekday. We're not actually answering the question, are you open now? And in a normal conversation with someone, you'd expect to have more contextual information. So they might say, oh, we're open until 5 today. So for that, we need to do some sort of calculation as to what the time is and when our bike store, and if that falls within our bike store's open hours range. So for any sort of calculation or API request or a database query, we need to use something called fulfillment. So if you go to the left panel here, we see down here we have fulfillment. So fulfillment is how you connect your Dialogflow agent to code. In this case, we have an inline editor where I've already deployed some code. So we can scroll down here and look at the hours function. We can see we check if the store is currently open. And if it is, we give a response that says we're open now, and we will be open until 5. And if it's not, we tell them when we're open next. So there's one more thing we need to do to connect this code to our Dialogflow agent, and that's go back to our hours intent and scroll all the way down and go to fulfillment and enable fulfillment for this intent. So once we do that, if we try our query again, are you open now? We can see right now that this, so right now, the hours intent is calling the webhook and comes back with the correct response of we're open now, and we close at 5 p.m. today. So that calculation was made and sent back the proper response. All right, now let's try something a little more complex. We're going to create an intent for making an appointment. So we'll call it the make appointment intent. And for this intent, we'll need a few more examples because there's many different ways that a user might say, I want to make an appointment. So we'll go through those right now. I'd like to get a bike tune-up. I'd like to schedule an appointment next Thursday. Can I schedule service for noon? Can I set up an appointment for my bike tomorrow at 2 p.m.? And the last one, I'd like to come in at 9 a.m. on May 11th. So now you can see we have a few things going on here that are different from our previous examples. So Dialogflow has highlighted a few of the entities that are present in our user says examples. So entities in the Dialogflow has several entities built in, so we can extract data from what users are saying and use it for, in this case, to schedule a bike appointment. So all the red highlighted items are times, and all of the yellow highlighted items are dates. So if we scroll down, we can see that these are listed as parameters. So we have the date and time listed, and the value that we can use to present this in our responses. So in this case, we want to reflect back the time and the time and date the user has specified, so we can confirm the right appointment time. So we'll go ahead and add a response here and say, great, I've set up your appointment for the $date. So this takes the value from what the user says and puts it in our response. And then at $time, so this will add the same thing for the time value. See you then. We'll go ahead and save that, and then we'll try this out. So I want an appointment tomorrow at 3 p.m. So now you can see that Dialogflow has correctly matched the make appointment intent and has extracted out that tomorrow means May 11th, and that 3 p.m. means 1500 hours. So it's easily parsable on our webhook, and it correctly inserts those values back into our response. So to actually make an appointment, we need a date and a time. So we need to make sure that the user provides both those pieces of data. So we're going to go to the parameter table and make both of these parameters required. Now, when a parameter is required, we can define a prompt so that if a user doesn't provide a date or a time, we can ask them for it. So in this case, for day, we'll add a prompt that says, what day do you want to come in? And for our time, we'll add a prompt that says, what time works for you? So let's try that out. We'll say, I need an appointment. Oops. Let's try appointment. So now that we've matched the make appointment intent, you can see that the response, instead of our response defined here, we hit one of our prompts that says, what day do you want to come in? So we'll go ahead and answer that question, say next Friday. And what time works for you? We'll say 11 a.m. And now you can see that this has been filled in correctly by Dialogflow, and we get the ultimate response back there. So now that we've set up an appointment, we might want to get some additional information from the user about the appointment. So we might want to know what kind of appointment type. So we'll go ask them a question and say, do you need a repair or just a tune-up? So now we need a way to capture the answer to this question, if they want a repair or a tune-up. So Dialogflow already has these built-in entities for date and time, but you can also create your own entities. So we'll go ahead and do that now. On the left panel, again, you can see we have a panel for entities and another plus button. So we'll create an entity, and we'll call it appointment type. And then we'll add entries for our appointment type entity. So in this case, we'll have a service option and a fix option. So we'll enter in the first value, service. And then we can also enter in synonym values for each of these entities. So someone might not actually say the word service, but they might say another word that means the same thing. So we can define synonyms that will map back to this canonical value. So instead of saying service, someone might say overhaul. They might say maintenance. They might say tune-up. Or they might say tune-up with a space in it. And for our other value, we have fix. So someone might say repair, mend. They might say their bike is broken. They might say they have a flat tire. Or they might say fixed. So we'll save that. So now that we have an appointment type entity, we need to create an intent to capture it. And in the case of our intents, we only really want to capture this appointment type entity after our make appointment intent has been matched. So we want to make a new intent that only is matched after the make appointment intent. For that, Dialogflow has something called follow-up intents. So if we hover over the make appointment intent, you can see there's the add follow-up intent option. So we'll create a custom follow-up intent. So this new intent that's listed here with that arrow means that this intent will only be matched after the make appointment intent. So we'll click that and we'll add some user says examples. So for this, we've just asked the user if they want a service or if they want to fix their bike. So we'll enter in some examples of how users might answer that question. They might say, I need a repair. Or they might say, can you service my bike? So now you can see, as before with the built-in entities, Dialogflow has correctly identified our custom entity that we just created. Since we need to know this information, we're going to make it required, and we'll add a prompt for it as well. We can service or repair your bike. Which one would you like? So now for our response here, it would be nice to confirm our actual appointment time and date after they've said what appointment type they have. But if you'll see here in the parameter table, we actually don't have the time or date here. So how do we get this value? For that, we're going to need to dig in a little deeper into how follow-up intents work. So follow-up intents work through something called context. So once we added this follow-up intent to the make appointment intent, a output context was added to make appointment. There are two types of context: output context and input context. Output context attach a context to a session after the intent has been matched. So in this case, after our make appointment intent has been matched, the make appointment follow-up context will be added to the session. Next, let's take a look at our follow-up intent. For our follow-up intent, we have the same value make appointment follow-up context, except instead of the output context, it's in the input context. So this makes the make appointment custom, or our follow-up intent, only get matched once the make appointment follow-up context is attached to the session. So in our case, the only time that the make appointment follow-up context is attached to the session is our parent make appointment intent. So this means that this make appointment custom follow-up intent will only be matched after our make appointment parent intent. In addition to controlling the flow and how intents are matched, contexts also store parameter values. So we can use the value of make appointment dash follow-up to reference the time and date that we previously gathered in the make appointment intent. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll say, OK, we'll schedule a $appointment. So this is grabbing whether they're fixing or servicing their bike, just like last time. And now we want to insert the date. So we'll do pound make appointment follow-up, and then do .date at, and then we'll do the same context value .time. So this will grab our time and date values from the previous intent. We'll see you then. All right, now instead of trying this out on Dialogflow Simulator on the right, why don't we try and see what this looks like when you deploy it to the Google Assistant? For that, we'll look again on the left panel, and we'll see a page called Integrations. So this integrations page shows all the integrations that Dialogflow has with other chat and voice providers. So you can use any of these to deploy your Dialogflow agent to your users on any platform. For now, we're going to start out with the Google Assistant. And you can see some information about how Dialogflow works with the Google Assistant. But for now, we're just going to try it out. So clicking test opens up the actions on Google Console. The actions on Google Console is where you define all the information about your action, like invocation name. So for right now, we say talk to my test app. My test app is a special name that's just for you when you're starting to test. But you can enter in any name for your brand once you get into the actions console. For now, we'll try with just talk to my test app. So
okay,
now,
here's the test version of my test app.
Hi, welcome to my bike shop. How can I help?
so what's happened now is we've invocated our action, and that sends the request to Dialogflow, which matches the welcome intent, which sends back the response we defined earlier. So let's try this out. Can I book an appointment for tomorrow at noon?
What time works for you?
Oh, noon. There we go.
Great. I've set up your appointment for the 11th of May 2018 at 12 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Do you need a repair or just a tune-up?
So now we see it's matched the make appointment intent, and now we're going to try out our follow-up intent. So we'll say, I need a repair.
Okay, we'll schedule a fix for the 11th of May 2018 at 12 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. We'll see you then.
So now you can see that it correctly identified the repair word and mapped it to the word fix. So in our response, it says, OK, we'll schedule a fix, and then also grabbed the time and date from the context to surface that to the user as well. So now that we've got an action fully working, I'm going to pass it back to Dan, who's going to talk about some of the new features that we've built in Dialogflow over the last year and some more features I didn't get to go over. Dan?
Awesome. All right, you should take a bow. So yeah, I hope that we've shown you how quickly you can build a really powerful assistant action with Dialogflow. In a few minutes, we've built an engaging conversational agent. We connected it to our code, and we've been able to deploy and test it immediately. And the really crazy thing is that after review, this action will be available on over 500 million devices with no install required. People just have to say the name of your action. So conversational experiences are a pretty new idea. And building your first agent can be hard because there's a whole set of concepts that may be unfamiliar for you. So we've built a lot of tools that will help make it easier to get started. Dialogflow comes with 45 pre-built agents that you can use as a starting point when you're developing. We cover a load of different real-world scenarios, like setting alarms, booking tickets, and all sorts of stuff. All you need to do is import the intents and entities and customize them to support and suit your action. In fact, every single Dialogflow agent comes equipped with over 50 system entities. These cover common concepts, including numbers, dates and times, amounts with units, and geography. Dialogflow can extract values based on these concepts with no additional work, so you can understand your customers and help them get things done without a lot of overhead. We also have a growing library of sample agents that demonstrate how to use our features. And these are referenced in our docs and on GitHub. And for I/O this year, we've added a new feature where you can open the sample with one click and try it out instantly. So this will deploy the agent and the fulfillment code, so you can just customize it and be up and running straight away. Speaking of our docs, we've also built in interactive Dialogflow agents. so you can play with real-life examples to help you learn important topics. We're regularly publishing new videos and tutorials to help you develop, and we just published another brief getting started video to our Dialogflow YouTube. Once you've learned the basics, we provide tools to help you do really powerful stuff. So Dialogflow will help you extend your actions over time, so you can improve your customer experience and performance. For example, natural conversations branch in complex and unpredictable ways. Things that are discussed earlier in a conversation can have an impact later on. And in the past, conversational platforms required you to hard code everything, which was really brittle and difficult to do anything to improve over time. Fortunately, Dialogflow's context allows you to shape the flow of a conversation without having to predict every possible twist and turn ahead of time. This can help you get beyond the idea of a menu-based phone conversation and create genuine conversation between people and computers. Once your action's up and running, you'll have a ton of logs of conversations, and you can use this data to improve your actions machine learning model. Our training feature will show you all of your past interactions, and it helps you assign them as training phrases for intents. You can also create new intents when customers ask for something that you didn't handle. Every feature we add is guided by these 3 goals. We want to create an excellent full-stack experience for our developers. We want the best possible natural language understanding and machine learning. And we want it to be easy to integrate and scale across any conversational platform. We use developer feedback to decide how to evolve our platform, and I wanted to show you some of the features that we've added since last year's I/O. First, we've heard that you want better insight into how conversations are going. So we've improved our history view and made it much easier for developers to see how their agent is being used. Now you can filter on date and platform, and you can search through logs to find particular interactions that are noteworthy. This will help improve your debugging experience and help you get to a better agent design over time. We've also been working really hard to support all the languages that your users speak. And today we support a total of 21 languages and 9 locales. We recently added support for languages including Hindi, Thai, and Indonesian. And we cover all of the languages the assistant supports, plus more. We've also added multilingual agents, so you can build one agent that works for all of your users across the world. Many of our customers have been asking us for an enterprise solution, and so this year we introduced Dialogflow Enterprise Edition. This brings Dialogflow to Google Cloud, which means you get enterprise-grade compliance and customer support on our cloud terms of service. So Ubisoft built their personal gaming assistant, Sam, on Dialogflow Enterprise Edition. And Sam was able to understand and answer 88% of players' requests in the first 3 months of their beta. So I hope you're feeling excited to get started building with Dialogflow. There have been tons of really amazing assistant sessions at this year's I/O, and you can find links to recordings of them all on the I/O website so you can enjoy them at your leisure. You should also make sure you check out our code labs, which will guide you through building your first action. Your feedback is super important to our team, and we really hope you've enjoyed this session. So we'd also love for you to head over to the I/O website and let us know your thoughts. It's super easy to get started with Dialogflow, and we put together a page full of links that can help you get up and running. You'll also find links on there to our online communities where our whole team is hanging out and we can help answer your questions. Also, don't be shy about tweeting our AOG Devs hashtag if you want to share your I/O experiences with our team. So we hope you've had a really amazing I/O and that you go on and have a ton of fun building actions for Google with Dialogflow. Thank you very much.
Thanks.